Hi everyone, I'm the Plant Propagator and welcome to my channel. If you like my videos and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you could click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. Today I'm back in my old university laboratory and I'm not sure how much longer I'll be able to call it that, but I'm here for now. I'm cleaning up some final things and I thought I would give you just kind of a quick run through or lesson, I guess, on a couple things related to aseptic technique and keeping your culture sterile. So I've got some old orchid cultures with me here. These are, again, and I'm surprised they're still alive, but they still are. They've been ignored for a while, and I've shared with you earlier about how you can take these cultures and they'll just kind of almost go dormant and sit if you don't do anything. Though a lot of the seedlings in there will these are seedlings, these are replatings, and a lot of them will kind of turn a little bit brown and yellow, but there's still a lot of green tissue in here, so they kind of go dormant a little bit when you're not doing anything to them, and these have been sitting here for quite a while. I don't want to do anything with them. I just want to share them with you and show you how these are treated for some aspects of the aseptic technique that I'm going to go over with you today. But there's not that much to that. The main thing, but there's two main things I want to show you. So I want to show you how to make up Clorox solutions, and then I want to show you how to wrap your containers. And as simple as that sounds, and as silly as it sounds, there's a lot of little subtle things that are done in the laboratory that I want to show you about. And if you already know this stuff or you're bored with it, well, then you can always click the button and go somewhere else. But let me show you a few things, and you can see if it's useful to you. All right, so the first thing is I want to share with you some information on Clorox and how you make up a Clorox solution. So when you sterilize the capsules, you can use a 50% Clorox solution, a bleach solution. And what that means is that you use half Clorox and then half water in order to sterilize your capsules. And this is a pretty high concentration of Clorox to use, and the reality of this is an old bottle of Clorox that I would not normally use, and this is old enough so it still says 6%. The newer bottles of Clorox that you buy are 7.55%, and this is 6%, and this is too old. And so there's a couple of things here. Number one is that you shouldn't use a bottle of Clorox if it's been sitting for over a year. Clorox sterilizes by production of these small little microbubbles of chlorine gas that are toxic and that will kill the bacteria and fungi that are associated with whatever you're sterilizing. And then when it's too old, this will dissipate, so it actually loses its efficacy if you have something that's too old. So in the U.S. at least, the new bottles of Clorox that you can buy are 7.5%, and 50% solution that you use for capsule sterilization of the old 6% or the new 7.5%. That's, you can get away with 50% of either of those, and that's fine. The main thing with Clorox, though, is that when you make it up, when you dilute your concentrated Clorox, you should use it fresh within a few days. Or what I do is use it once and then discard it, or I actually make up what I need. So it's not a good idea to make up a diluted Clorox solution and just go to that like you can, for example, alcohol or something else. Because what happens over time is the gases dissipate and it goes bad. So Clorox, it's best to use fresh when you make it up. And if you're some other places where you have higher or lower concentrations of your standard bleach solutions, with capsules it doesn't matter. The seeds are inside the capsules and they're protected. So you can get away with really high bleach solutions to sterilize the capsule, and everything is good. So I use, like I said, a 50% solution of Clorox for 20 minutes with shaking to sterilize the seed capsules, and that works pretty effectively. And you know things are working with the seed capsules when you see the end of the seed capsule, the cut area of the seed capsule will actually turn white. It will get bleached out over those 20 minutes, and then you know it's a good sterilization procedure. And that's normal to happen. Now, when you have living plant material and the bleach gets in there, it's a good idea to cut off that bleached out area, because it'll keep on spreading in if you leave it attached. So, but in the seeds and the capsules, it's fine. And again, high concentrations. And that's good of most any bleach solution that you use. As far as sterilization of seeds, so if your capsule happens to break open and you have seeds within your capsule and you want to sterilize that, that's a little bit of a different story. I tend to use higher concentrations of bleach than most other people use, so I will use a 10% solution of a 7.5% bleach, which means it's 0.75% bleach. I will use that to sterilize my seed. That's a little bit high in what I'm told. It works effectively. The seeds are small, and you may encounter damaging some of the seeds if you have freshly isolated seeds that you're sterilizing in a 10% bleach solution. I had a great meeting with Roy Tokunaga last week, and this is a real king of flasking, and he's in Hawaii. He's associated with H&R Orchids in Hawaii, and I had a Zoom meeting with him and a few other people, and he was just incredibly helpful. So Roy, again, I've told you thanks, but if you're watching, thanks again. He's been doing this for a long time. I told him I use 10% bleach solution. He goes, that's too high. He said that is absolutely too high, and he recommended using 1 to 2 to 3% of a bleach solution for seed sterilization. And he also recommended a really short time. He said you can do that for just for 5 minutes. But what you have to do really, and I haven't tested these lower concentrations of bleach, but what you have to be concerned with the lower concentrations, you're not going to get as much kill of the fungal and the fungi and the bacteria that are associated with your seed that happen to be there. So I haven't tried this yet, but that's what he said to use, is to go with much lower concentrations of bleach for seed sterilization. And again, what you do is you make up these solutions fresh. So 1% is easy. Use 1 ml and then add 99 mils of water, so a 1 to 100 dilution. The percent, when you look at the percent sign, the little percent sign is actually a part of 100. So that's how you can remember what percent means. And it's all percent. We're not dealing with a metric system. It's not milligrams or ounces or anything like that. That system. This is percent. It's not mils. It is percent, which is the amount out of 100. And so it's a really easy thing to deal with. All right. So Roy recommended to use a much lower concentration of bleach for seed sterilization. And again, you can give it a try, see how clean things are, but again, with lower concentrations, you have to be concerned with sterility. So I need to do the comparison. I haven't done that yet. The other thing that Roy mentioned to me that I want to share with you is that if you have a capsule that is starting to turn yellow when you open it up and the seeds are dry, you simply keep the dry seeds. And I've been doing this a little bit, but he really seemed to, he pushed that home as a really nice way to store your seeds. And I've stored dried seeds and then sterilize them, but you can also sterilize the capsule. And again, if the capsule is just at the right stage and the seed is dry inside, you can store sterile dry seed for a long time in the refrigerator. and then you can just go back to that and plate more if you need it, and that's a really nice thing to try or to at least experiment with. I've worked with seed biologists and I've worked with seeds, not orchid seeds, for much of my career. And you can store the seeds from many, many different plants in different conditions. So we have a seed storage facility at my university, and that's a refrigerator temperature controlled humidity. But you can also store seeds, and I haven't tried this with orchids, in the freezer, and you can also store seeds, and again, I haven't tried this with orchids, at ultra low, and I think ultra low means minus 80 degrees centigrade. And I haven't really tried this, but I should try it. You know, it should work. You store a long time, and then beyond that, you can store certain seeds on liquid nitrogen, but those seeds have to be prepared specially, but they'll store for a lot longer at the ultra low temperatures. But I think for most of us, storing the seeds once they're mature in the fridge is really a nice way to go and a nice way to do things. So I just again wanted to give you an update on Clorox and concentrations of bleach to try. And again, when you're trying, regardless of really where you're located, when you're trying a 10% bleach solution, for example, the difference between using a 6% sodium hypochlorite and a 7.5% sodium hypochlorite, which is the newer Clorox bleaches, that's not really much of a difference, especially when you consider the different percentages that people try. And I hope I'm not throwing too many numbers out at you today, but I just want you to, you don't have to be as precise when you make up your sterilizing solution as you have to be when you're making up your media. And there's certain things even in your media that you don't have to be as precise with, especially from some of the things I've seen in the orchid world, where some of the media formulations are incredibly creative. You know, you can get away with a lot of stuff, and there's some general rules to follow. But let's get back to this stuff. You can get away with some variations in the percentages for success. And what you do is you evaluate different things and see where you're successful, and continue with that. All right, so I'm going to move on. I've talked for a long time on using different sodium hypochlorite solutions and different bleaches, and I want to move on a little bit. And that's how to, and this is a silly little thing, but how to wrap your flasks and your Petri dishes, and how to wrap them and keep them clean. And there are different ways to do this. Different people do this different ways. The old standard in the laboratory is to use this stuff, which is Parafilm. And Parafilm is this real stretchy film right here. And it's stretchy because you can do this with it before it breaks. So it's a stretchy film, and it's nice because you stretch and seal your containers. You can buy Parafilm that comes in different widths. Sometimes you can buy the single, double. This is expensive stuff, but you can buy this. There may be off-brands that you can buy too. But what I want to show you is how you can wrap containers with Parafilm, and how to do this. Some laboratories, what they'll do is they'll cut the pieces, the individual pieces that they're going to use to wrap one container, and they'll stretch and they'll seal. What I like to do is just to make a long, and I didn't do that here, to make a long strand. And if you get good scissors, I don't know if you saw what I did, but I wasn't cutting. You can just glide them up the Parafilm, and it will cut really nicely. Parafilm has this semi-paper backing that has to be removed and tossed. And depending on what you're wrapping, what I do, this is kind of too long. You can actually cut the double thing in thirds or quarters, but what I do is I actually fold this in half. So I make, I essentially doubled this, the original piece of Parafilm that was here. I folded it in half. And then what you can do is you take this and you hold this and you stretch and wrap it around the container. So you do this around the container. And this is a really nice seal here, all right, with the Parafilm. The problem is this stuff, the Parafilm, is expensive, and it's not in use. It's in use in the laboratories. It's standard wrapping film in most laboratories. It's great stuff to do. You can play games with this stuff. You can do a lot of different stuff. What most people use that are not in the laboratory, and even what I use in my laboratory is not. I use Parafilm to wrap certain things, but I do not use it actually to wrap my flasks and my Petri dishes. And what I use to wrap my flasks and Petri dishes are a plastic wrap. And this happens to be Glad brand cling seal, a Glad wrap. And so this is what I use, and this comes, the container is empty because the roll is right here. And what I do is I make, oh, here it is. I cut this into small 1-inch, 2.5 centimeter pieces, and I use this to wrap my containers. And I want to show you, number one, how I cut it, and I want to show you, number two, how I wrap the containers. So you can use a knife, and so in the old days, what I did in the laboratory is I would take the knife, and I got this, again, I got this marked off. I'm going to show you here. I got it marked off. These are 1-inch pieces that I have marked, and you can take this knife, and I have a sharpener because this is hard to do. This is a workout. I'm making leeway through it. I haven't done this, and I'm sitting low in the chair, so it's really hard to do. But this is how I used to do it, and I have a cutting, actually a piece of tile, but a cutting board is what you can use to do this. But this is pretty hard, and it is a heck of a workout. But you can do this if you have good good grip and good muscles there. You can do this, and this will work fine. I had an undergraduate in my laboratory who brought this in one day, and this is a PVC pipe cutter, and this does the job. And you know, the interesting thing is that I thought she was really bright, and I really appreciated that she brought this and donated it into the laboratory. These comes in different sizes. It's called a PVC pipe cutter, and she brought this in and used this to cut this. And I found out a few years later that a number of different laboratories use this same approach. So what you do with a pipe cutter is and this is a ratcheting pipe cutter, and what it does is it makes these cuts go pretty smooth and pretty. So as much as I would struggle to cut this with a knife, this is what you do with the PVC pipe cutter, and it does tend to collapse the roll, so you have to kind of open the roll up and decollapse it to open it up. So right now it's closed. To open it up, you do this, and then we're going to go to the second one. And this is almost fun to do because you can make these things really very effectively. So this is the second roll, and you can see it got smashed, and you just kind of open it up again. So this is the roll right here, and I'm going to do one more because maybe it is fun. Maybe I do enjoy doing this. I have, for my laboratory in Southwest Florida, I have a PVC pipe cutter that is maybe a little bit small, and I haven't done this in a while up here, but I think I'm gonna get me a big one of these. So this is really nice. This is very helpful. All right, so what you generate is a bunch of rolls like this, and then you take this thing, and there's a certain way to hold this. And what happens with this is like anything. If you lose the edge, you're in trouble. So it's good to kind of fold it down between your wraps to make sure that you're good, because you don't want to lose your edge. But what I do is I hold it like this. So I have my finger underneath, my thumb on top. and I roll it in the same direction that for example, the Petri dish we'll do with the container in a second. But what you do is you roll, I'm going to get out of the way a little bit, you roll around it, oh, and it broke, figures. And it'll do that maybe the first part of the roll. So you roll, and you can see it's rolling in my hands, and you apply a little bit of pressure as you go around the dish like this. All right, so you can get, and you do it right on the edge to get a nice seal. Now, after you get good at doing this, then you can start doing going, and I'm not speeding it up because I'm talking, but you can go a little bit faster. What you do, oh, I did that too fast at the end, but at the end of it all, so you go around here, and I actually use this to hold it, and then, I use the roll to hold it and push it. And then right at the end, you add a little bit more, and then you break it and smooth the edge down with this hand, but you always have this open here so you can see it. If you lose this, it's hard to find it if you lose this. Now with these containers, it's the same type of thing with the containers, is that you go around it. Sometimes, depending on the container, you have to hold, it won't stick to the container like Parafilm is, so sometimes you have to hold it in place. Sometimes with me it helps to put it down, and again, I put it down, I hold it, and then I spin it like this. But again, you get to the edge, you add a little bit, you pull it, seal it, and then you leave the overhang here. You can, and this is really an inexpensive way compared to Parafilm, which does work great, but it's a really nice way to cut tape to seal your flasks, your various containers. And I use it on jars, I use bottles, other types of flasks. I use it on anything, but the edges here that you want to keep secure, that's how I do it. Now, this is actually, this is airtight and watertight, so this won't let much escape. Orchids and many plants that you put in culture often need a little bit of air, a little bit of oxygen, and a little bit of exchange, even though if they're in the light they should be photosynthetic, blah, blah, blah. But there's other gases that can build up in here, so you should have some level of gas exchange. So what I do, and I'll show you this later, is I'll punch a hole in the top. I'll actually melt a hole in some of the deli containers that I have. I'll shove a cotton ball into that small hole. I'll put tape on the top and tape on the bottom so that there's a little bit of air exchange that occurs. So that's all I have for today. I just wanted to show you a little bit about, I wanted to explain to you a little bit about the various types of bleach or sodium hypochlorite solutions and how to use those to sterilize different plant materials. And then I wanted to share with you, again, the simple tasks of wrapping your sterilized containers. So I hope you enjoyed my video today, and happy propagating.